Hello, I'm L.A Wilshaw and you're watching Inside Chat. My special guest today is Chasing the Dream director, Rory Child. So welcome to Inside Chat, Rory. It is fantastic that you could come on today and talk about the eagerly anticipated season 3 of Chasing the Dream. Now, for those of you who haven't seen the series before, can you explain what it's all about? And also really just tell us how you are on this fine Sunday.
Well, thank you for having me, first of all. It's a pleasure to talk about the project. Yeah, it's a behind-the-scenes style docu-series following Formula 2 and this year a little bit of Formula 3. And I suppose it is just trying to show the drivers' personalities a little bit more than what you would get from traditional broadcast. Of course, there are some interviews that go out on the world feed and on the build up to the race, but you don't really get to know the guys that well. I suppose you can follow them on Instagram, and some of them are quite active on there, so that's good. And they've got fairly decent fan bases. But really, I think it probably was off the reaction to Drive to Survive that this project got going. It had a huge impact, and it's still probably growing. The audience for Formula One fan base. It's easy access. You don't need to know all the rules and regs, and it's probably good that you don't sometimes. So really, that's how it picked off, and we started in 2019. I actually think we were going to do it more of like a sexy season highlights. We were going to do one episode to launch in the summer break, and then one at the end of the season. But things kind of just changed. The content we were getting, deliverables, etc. It just made more sense to actually deliver episodes at the end of the year. So that's really what it is, how it's evolved, and sort of now it's in its third year. It's a lot stronger than year one, but still quite a small project compared to its big brother, Drive to Survive, I guess.
I think for Formula 2 fans, it's the best, you know, and it's more preferable over the Big Brother, to be honest with you, you know, and that's why I said at the beginning it's eagerly anticipated, because I've certainly been waiting for it and waiting to watch all of last season, because there isn't really a dull moment in Formula 2. So, you know, and I didn't understand that, you know, maybe it was just sort of supposed to be a reasonably small project, and that's really interesting to find out that, you know, you were getting that much content and there were that much stories developing around you, that then it became, you know, something bigger and something very comparable to the Big Brother Drive to Survive. So your name is all over this, you know, you've edited, produced, cinematographer, you know, there's T-Boy, you know, might be in there somewhere, as Kenny Kerwin, you know, mentioned. And is that preferable because you like to be pretty much in control of every aspect, you know, of telling the story from beginning to end, you know, from the vision to finished product? You know, do you have full creative control?
Yeah, in a way I do. I do like it. It's cool to be the guy coming up with the ideas, filming it. I love that bit. Obviously, like, I remember my first time going into the pit lane, and genuinely it was every sort of sense is at 110%. It's loud, it's the smell of petrol, burning rubber, fast cars flying. But yeah, it was and it really sort of, all the senses were flying, and I just loved it. I mean, I didn't even really have a big motorsport background before then, so I just had to be a sponge and learn as much as I could. And I remember sitting on the plane to Bahrain, round 1, 2019, and I sat next to a guy who at the time was the F2 producer for the broadcast, and he gave me an A4 document and he said, these are the guys to follow, these are who I think is going to win, and this is kind of the format. So that it was a real crash course, and I know loads now, obviously, after 3 years. And that's why it's cool that I can pick the storylines. And sometimes I love picking the storylines, but there is only me most of the time, so it's a little bit limited. So a lot of the magic definitely does happen in the edit, which is not me really. I've got editors that help on that, and they are amazing. They've done a great job. Okay, what I do normally is give them a brief of the episode and who I think the main protagonists and the main interviews that we got for that episode are, and then they just cut it, and then hopefully we're on the right track, and then we can do some reviews, etc. But yeah, it's cool being the guy who does everything. I have Alexa helping me on site with some interviews. And then occasionally I do have like support from some of the FOM cameramen who'll go get me some extra bits and bobs. But it's being a small crew is also has its advantages. I can go into places, whether it's one of the drivers' homes, or not so much at the moment because of COVID, but I could go into a meeting and you don't notice me really, so I can get good content. And also, I suppose, because it's just me, they all know me really well. I think that there's a lot of trust, and that's a huge part of documentary making is building those relationships. So yeah, I wouldn't mind a little bit of extra help every now and then, especially, but it's definitely not fully a negative thing to be a small crew. No. And I suppose at the same time, it's quite a privilege.
So you did mention, the brief that you might give out to people that you're working with. What is the process during a race weekend? Do you have the planned shots, the planned interviews ready? And on top of that, do you then watch the sessions and are therefore sort of on standby, ready to film if something unexpected happens?
Yeah, I would say this year was a little bit different because of the format. I really paid attention to qualifying. I thought that was very important for the overall championship picture. So Friday was more important than ever. Going back a step, on a Thursday, I generally just try and talk to people who've done well in the previous round, just to catch up going into the upcoming weekend. A few people that I think need to bounce back. I kind of cover all bases, I suppose, on a Thursday. And say it's like a British Grand Prix, I will speak to the British drivers because it's a no-brainer, just to kind of ask them about how cool it is to race in front of fans, etc. And then, yeah, I really will just go, okay, so-and-so is qualified first, and who's alongside him on the front row. And yeah, that's kind of how I go from there, really. Of course, then if there's an academy angle or something else, then yeah, I need to pick up shots of those guys, regardless of where they've qualified and results wise. But yeah, it's generally on a weekend I'm focusing on the championship picture primarily, and then those storylines that are developing throughout the season I just dedicate a bit of time on a weekend to get those shots or set up additional interviews. I said it before, but if it's a British Grand Prix, I'll just stick with Dan, because I know.
I can't now get out of my mind the cold water tub moment.
Well, yeah, I know. I mean, he brought that pretty much everywhere. He took it to the Middle East. It went everywhere with Dan. I mean, I think that's part of his driving package. Is
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And I suppose in one way you might be a little bit disappointed or sad that he's not around this season, you know, to know you might get some really quite good content from him.
Of course, but I think it's good that Dan has called it time on. I mean, it's challenging, and sad. I know he was genuinely very sad to be calling it a day on his junior racing career. You know, the guy's probably got very close to, well, he's got very close to Formula One early on, then to not get there. But yeah, and also I suppose as a documentary filmmaker, yes, he's entertainment. He's always going to give you those brilliant one-liners.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you are filming, what kind of challenges do you come across trying to capture live motor racing content?
I mean, the one thing is, sometimes I can sense something's about to happen. So I'm on the pit wall filming with a team, and they might have one of their drivers in a battle with another. So I've got the camera on my shoulder and I'm filming, just waiting for reaction, and I'm waiting, and then something else happened on another team's pit wall, and oh no, I'm not. So I drop down the camera, and then the team I've been with, then an overtake happens just then and there, and you're like, oh, you miss it, but you can't be in record the whole time. I mean, that's one challenge, is you just got to kind of pick your moments and go for it, I suppose. The other thing is it's so quick, you don't really have time to plan too much. So occasionally it's very reactionary rather than set up.
Is there anything particular that you did miss, you know, that you have missed in the season, that any of the seasons actually, that you think, oh, and you know, oh, I missed that, and you know, maybe tell us about it anyway?
What have I missed? I mean, there's probably plenty. But we probably rescued it in the edit somehow.
Yeah, because you mentioned, you know, using content from other sources, and of course use the official, you know, footage from Sky F1, you know, Sky Sports. So I guess that if you do want to tell a story, there are certain ways to not manipulate, but to bring that story in using other content.
Yeah. I tell you what, we do have a challenge, particularly with F2 or any support series, is if a driver crashes out, he goes back to you. Well, it depends where he crashes. They'll usually go just back to the support paddock. There's not always they're going to come to the pit lane, and occasionally they do, and they stand on the pit wall. So you can miss that, and you kind of want that, like, really disappointed face, balaclava helmet off shot. So that's something that I'm not able to get often. And I suppose actually same thing for quali and stuff like that. The support paddock and the F1 pit lane is so far away. You can't be there. If you want the two rivals, one of them is in the top 3 of quali and one of them's just outside, they're going to be miles apart, and there's no other cameras in the support lane. So occasionally I'll just ditch the quali and I'll go back to the support lane if that's the main story. But the other thing, I just remember one of the other, like, really big challenges, and I suppose it's this is why Drive to Survive does a really good job, is sound. Like, I'm sure you've seen behind seen stills, like huge boom poles going in that I don't have that. And it's so noisy. You almost like need to have the shotgun mic right by their mouth occasionally. It's really challenging to get good audio. So that's why we do the master interviews in a studio in a black with a black background, just so we can get clean audio.
Are there any really great moments that you have either captured or not captured? It doesn't matter about capturing them, that you've experienced that might not necessarily be the obvious, you know, so it might not necessarily be watching a champion crowned, but are there any memories you have that you have with you, that you hold with you?
I was really happy that Ralph had some good results this year. He's a lovely guy. Marcus Armstrong, again in Saudi, had a great battle, and he had his his dad was there watching, which was nice. To see Juan Manuel Correa drive again is very special. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of special moments that I don't make it into the series, I guess. Although it's tricky, it's been a little bit limited the last year or so. When the families were there in year one, that was lovely. I hope we get more of that. It did kind of creep back into it this year, but you have to remember these guys are so young. And I remember when I played rugby, like having your parents or family there is a huge support. And I think that'd be good to see more families back this year onwards, hopefully.
Yeah, that will be really nice. Absolutely. So you mentioned before about, you know, if there is some kind of accident and you try and be in the best place, you know, right place at the right time. So when an accident occurs, such as Enzo's did, you know, in Jeddah towards the end of last season, is there a protocol? Do you continue filming? Do you just take a step back? You know, what happens? What do you do behind that camera?
Yeah, interesting one for Enzo. I was filming Prema pit wall because they had the 1-2 start, and occasionally, like I was almost anticipating something, to be honest, because of that first corner of 1-2. I thought Robert and Oscar might come together, but it wasn't. Theo stalled, and I wasn't quite aware of it because I was just framing the back of heads of people, and then I saw the reaction. And I think I just took my time. I didn't rush over to get a shot or whatever, because it is covered. It is covered by the TV cameras. I think I assessed the situation and I was like, well, for me, we've now got a load of drivers unsure of what's just happened, and you've got to balance your reaction to that. I mean, I don't want to be in their face. I don't want to, because if you see an accident or you're close to one, etc., those guys are realistically might have to go out again in a car. So I would pick up some shots of the guys looking concerned from a distance, and then I went over. I slowly walked down and had a look at the crash, and I saw that they'd both been taken out of the cars, etc. So basically what I did was just get a couple of shots of the aftermath, I would say, and nothing detailed, nothing gory or anything like that, you know. It's just it's a tricky one, but it's part of the sport, I guess. So yeah, and then I remember obviously very concerned for both drivers, but I suppose what made me feel a lot better was two days later, I was checking into the hotel in Abu Dhabi, and Teo came in with his parents, and I was like, oh, thank God. I mean, first of all, I didn't know if he and Enzo would even be able to get into the final round, you know. So it was a big relief to see Teo, especially nothing. You know, I can't wait to see Enzo back this year, but for Teo having such a great year to then miss the final round would have just been so sad. So yeah, it was a tough one actually, definitely, and they're both so young, you know.
And I guess really in a way, you know, what's coming across is the investment in the human side that you have. So of course we know how the season went, so there's no spoilers there, you know, we know where everybody finished. But can you give us a little taste then of what we're going to expect in the new series that's out now, and for those people who have not managed to watch it yet?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'd been starting in 2019. Guan Yu Zhou, or Zhou Guan Yu, was the Anthoine Hubert Rookie of the Year in the end, and he's a lovely guy. Always had time for me from that first year all the way up to now, and he achieved his goal, his dream of reaching Formula One. So yeah, we focused on Joe quite a bit, and I'm really thrilled for him to be making that move up. Very cool guy on and off the track. Yeah, you could miss. Well, he'll give Lewis Hamilton a run for his money on the fashion front this year, I think. Then to be in Monaco when Teo became the youngest ever driver was a lovely moment, and he is great. I mean, just very happy young guy, and super talented too. So we followed him, and sort of I was in his apartment the morning of with his sister, and it was cool just getting that sort of intimate sort of pre-race breakfast that you would have just with family, and yeah, it was really cool. Then
that was a good place for him to win, right?
Oh, well, yeah, we didn't do Le Castellet, so it was Monaco. I mean, also I don't know, even French drivers might prefer winning Monaco to Grand Prix. It's so iconic. Who knows? And then actually I went down to ART Grand Prix HQ, caught up with Sebastian Philippe, and that's wicked because obviously Lewis Hamilton was there for GP2, and I mean, so many good drivers went to ART.
So how many episodes are there this season coming up?
Yeah, 6 episodes, and 1/2 of an episode or 2/3 of an episode on Formula 3 as well. Yeah, it's I think it's really strong this year, as in consistency. I mean, going back to season 1 where Anthoine episodes stood out is much stronger. Season 2 was a good move, as in a step in the right direction. But I do think this year's consistency throughout the episodes is the highest it's been. But that's just my opinion. I mean, good to know what other people think, really. And obviously, you know, there were things that we didn't cover that are good stories, but it's difficult. What did Drive to Survive have? 10 episodes? 12? I can't remember. So yeah, we don't do as many, but we don't have the resources at the same time. And that, it doesn't mean that we won't cover them in hindsight this year. I mean, there's stuff that I think's interesting from last year that deserves a little recap in season 4. So yeah.
So where can we watch the new series that is out now of Chasing the Dream?
It's out right now on F1 TV, which is worth it in my opinion. I think for a month you get it for £2 or £2.50, I don't know exactly. And then I believe it's being distributed to other F1 broadcasters, but it's almost a no-brainer if you just fancy watching all 3 series. They're on the app, and it's on the iStore, Apple Store. So yeah,
it's a Sunday. It's okay.
It's a great Sunday viewing. I think you can do them all in what would be a Ridley Scott feature film. So
you could binge watch. You could absolutely binge watch. You could get.
Well, a lot of people do. That's what I noticed. We spend months putting them all together, and then a few hours after release, there's people on Twitter going, "I've just watched the whole series," which is great.
So final question, Rory.
Yeah.
Will there be a season 4? And if so, when do you start filming?
Yes, there's going to be a season 4. And we start in 2 weeks' time. We're honestly like, it's a proper merry-go-round. So we finish one and we start the next. But yeah, I think with everything that we've learned, there's no reason why the project couldn't be better for the next year. And I'm pretty excited. I'm just coming up with what the main storylines are at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm sure that everybody will enjoy watching this Inside Chat as much as I have enjoyed speaking with you, Rory, and also enjoy watching the new Chasing the Dream series as well as the others. So thank you so much for joining me.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And also thank you at home for watching. So if you follow, like, subscribe to all our social media channels, you will be able to keep up with all the Formula 2 news of this season, and I'll see you there.